The Rotten Blood quest is the hardest content in the game, at least for now, and this video begins the guide series for it, with the first boss being Murcion. Similar to how the Soul War quest works, completing a boss gives you a taint, which in turn comes with a negative buffs inside the Rotten Blood, spawns and bosses. For that reason, the order of the bosses matters, and that is why Murcion should be done first, for being the hardest boss of the access to Backrecord. But first, let's start with unlocking access to Murcion. This boss is located in the Jaded roots inside of the Blood Vestibule, a lobby area with teleports that take you into the Rotten Blood spawns. If this is your first time coming, you will have to first talk to Torcada in Refia and ask for the expedition and then mission. Follow this path and talk to the Blood Shade. You will need to have 2 Bloody Tears, which are a creature product from the Fear Feaster boss, but they are quite rare and most people go with the second option. Pay a one-time fee of 5kk. After you do either one, then you are granted access by stepping into the blood, and start the questline with the Blood Shade inside. Once here, the portal to Jaded Roots is the first one on the north. For this spawn, the protections recommended are physical and earth. To unlock access to each boss in the questline, you must reach 100 charges inside of the spawn. This can be done by just being inside of it, where most people will find a spot to hide behind magic walls, and avoid the creatures and pass the time that way. Or to go around the spawn to find the spoiler pillars for this spawn, or the Dark Lake Obelisk for the other two. Clicking on this gives 15 charges and each spawn has 5 of them. For this one, they are located in these spots, and the recommended route to follow is this. Take your time and be careful reaching the middle area, as that has the most amount of creatures. If you opt for clearing the creatures, you will have full access by the time you use 4 and get to the boss. Teams also tend to run through the creatures and click the pillars. I don't recommend doing that for first timers and I haven't personally done it. I find clearing the way just fine and prefer it that way. So it will be up to your team to decide how you do this part. Once you get the 100 charges, the boss teleport is located underground by the northeast. Additionally, these bosses have a hiding mechanic that is influenced by the order you go into the level room. For that reason, EKs always go in first and Paladins go last. What this does is that the Bloodjaws tend to prioritize their aggro to the person that entered the level room first, and the boss does the same for the last person to enter. So always do this for the bosses. For this fight, the EK takes majority life drain damage, followed by physical. Mages take majority death with 75% and 25% life drain, and the Paladin takes physical, life drain, and some death. Ideally, mages should do this boss of Mana Shield, and in that case, everyone will be using Necklace of the Deep. If the mage is using Mana Shield, then go with a Stone Skin Amulet instead. However, be aware that it might not be possible to sustain the entire fight on Mana Shield. EK and RP stick to the Necklace of the Deeps and Death Protection on equipments. Now for this boss fight, upon entering the room, Paladin takes aggro of the boss and starts moving around the edge of the room. Then EK stand near the middle and wait for the 2 Bloodjaws to spawn. Once you rest them, then you start following the path of the Paladin, while being roughly halfway of his path. The main job of the EK in this fight, besides taking the Bloodjaws, is to explode the mushroom summoned by Murcion. These act like mines, getting next to it and getting hit by its attack turn will explode them shortly after, doing 2.5k life drain damage in an AoE around it. There is also a visual indicator when you trigger the explosion, so you wait until you see it and then continue moving. These are constantly summoned, and there can be up to 8 mushrooms in the room. If there is 2, then he will summon 6, and vice versa. For that reason, you intentionally leave some mushrooms alive. The goal of this, for one, is that the mushrooms that are on the path of the boss, aka on top of the mold roots, are the ones you prioritize, because you want to help the Paladin kite the boss in the same path if possible. If the boss has to turn because of a mushroom, it will have a chance of retargeting. For the record, walking over the mole does 12.5% of max HP per second in agony, so both EKs and Paladins want to avoid stepping on it if possible. If it was necessary to break a mushroom, I will do it quick and get off, and those mushrooms that will not be on his way can be left alone, like the ones by the walls, corners, or near the middle. Keep in mind that those that spawn near the mages, even if they are not right next to them, after some time the mushrooms explode on their own. So it's recommended to Mana Shield and trigger the explosion yourself as a mage if it seems like it will heal you anyways. If it is further away, then leave it be. If you explode them all, the Murcion will be summoning all 8 at once, and this is a problem for many reasons. First, it can surround the Paladin in some rare cases, exploding all the mushrooms on him and getting him killed. Second, Murcion can trap himself. I'll explain why this is a problem in a bit, but besides that, he can also block his path and then taking a detour which puts him closer to the shooters. That's a big problem because Murcion retargets based on proximity. The moment he's closer to somebody else than the RP, he will retarget that person. For that reason, you see the mages stand near the middle. There is two ways to go about it. One is to move around a few squares in the middle, matching the boss movement. So if he's walking by the right, you move to the left, and if he's in the corner, you take the opposite. The other option is to stack in the same square in the middle. For this one, you let one druid take the bottom stack so that he is able to mass res everyone. This druid is usually the one healing the EK and alternating with mass res. The main ID is healing the paladin. If Murcion finds his way into a mage, they must identify who has the aggro, and that person needs to manage it instantly and move to guide Murcion in the same direction the paladin was going. Then the paladin in turn walks near him, not getting on the path of the boss, just close enough that he gets aggro by Murcion. This is because of the second and main mechanic of this fight. Each step that Murcion takes leaves behind a trail of mold behind. When he steps or stands on top of them, he will heal 15k per second, which is why I mentioned before, if he were to trap himself with mushrooms, he will heal a lot in the time it takes to explode the mushrooms to take him out. For that reason, the paladin is constantly moving him across the room. The timing of it is very narrowly enough so that he does not get to the mold from the opposite side of the room. Paladins need to find the rhythm to guide the boss. It cannot be too fast because then you will get far away from him and then he retargets a mage. But it cannot be too slow because you will give him the fraction of a second he needs on top of the mold to heal himself. This is part of the reason my paladin is using this equipment, focus on movement speed. The real reason is his high ping was making it harder for him to move away when taking a diagonal when paralyzed, so his solution was this. That does not mean everyone needs to do this, but it's a potential solution if you are struggling with the kiting. In terms of defensive equipment, you don't need much. The real risk of dying is getting unlucky with the mushrooms and exploding them on top of you when the necklace falls off. You have a fraction of a second to react in a ring and that's about it. This recently has become easier with the introduction of graded garlic necklaces, which I would recommend for this boss as the RP, which is why the EK's job is important as well, even if it's not the main tank. Another thing to pay attention to as the paladin is your distance skill. First off, you want to be using a Tito. As I said before, the boss damage is not dangerous by itself and paladins are often quite safe. Only in bad luck moments things can go bad. Other than that, this is a fight that is heavily dependent on damage done, as well as healing avoided. But Murcion makes this hard by constantly lowering the paladin skills. For this, you need to have it open, and when he lowers it, utilize tempo. And if it is on cooldown, then use a bullseye potion. Prioritize the uptime of your skills so that your damage is as high as possible. And with that said, the mages prioritize staying away from the boss to avoid retargets. Unironically, that is the best way to do damage, since whenever he gets off the paladin, it's guaranteed to heal until things are back in control. And that's all I got for this boss guide. If you find it helpful, consider subscribing. The rest of the quests will be coming soon. Thank you for watching, and until the next one.